Welcome to Wildspire. You get to be a fly on the wall for my intimate conversations with entrepreneurs who are changing the world. I'm your host, Stephanie Benedetto, coach, storyteller, and unmarketer at The Awakened Business, helping coaches and change-making entrepreneurs unleash their inspired message and share it with playful unmarketing. I'll ask curious questions and explore uncharted waters with my guest today. Anything can happen when we step into the unknown of infinite creativity, and that's where we're going to play. My guest today is Sherryl Perry. I've known Sherryl for a few years, and last year, at some point, she called upon our impact community members for support with what she was calling an impossible task. Now, I won't share with you what happened because the details are revealed in our conversation, but I followed up with her months later and then had to invite her to speak for you on this podcast because her story is an astounding example of what's possible when we don't let the idea of impossible stop us. Here's a bit more about Sherryl Perry. Sherryl is a yoga teacher, Pilates instructor, wellness coach, and Reiki master who brings over 15 years of experience to her joyful, heart-centered work. She's known for creating playful, deeply resonant classes and coaching sessions that blend movement, mindfulness, and healing. Based in Michigan, Sherryl teaches from her lakeside studio, a peaceful sanctuary where she reminds her students to walk barefoot and smile often. It is my great pleasure to introduce you to Sherryl Perry. Well, welcome, Sherryl, to the Wildspire podcast. I'm so excited to have you here as you've been in my life, in and out of my life, but in my life and in my heart for years since we met. And when we last had connected, you came to the create experience inside of the impact community with an impossible project. What at the time you're like, this is my impossible project. And I'd love to hear if you would share your story of what was happening at that time and what has happened since then. And you can take it however you want.
Well, thank you for having me. I think what you do in the world and with your podcast, and I think pretty much with everyone you meet, is just incredible. And it's really inspiring. And I know you've always inspired me. You've unlocked things and shown me things that I didn't quite even realize was right there in my sight line. But so I do appreciate it. Thanks for having me. So yeah, I was when I came to you guys for help, this was an absolute impossible situation. And, I picked up my bat phone and was like, okay, impossible solvers, let's go. Because truly in my mind, I couldn't see a way out of it. And I kept trying to push myself to, I can do this. I can get through this. I can make it happen. And that turned out to be just a lot of force, and it actually wasn't connecting to my heart. So that mindful, willful, I'm going to do this and charge forward no matter what, because I'm going to get what I want, did not connect to actually what my soul and my heart required at that time. So my body and my mind were just in a disconnect there for sure.
Sherryl,
And
can you tell me, give me a summary of what that impossible challenge looked like at the time that you were forcing your way through?
Absolutely. So a little over a year ago, I was I was kind of blindsided by my partner at the time, and he said that he wanted to file for divorce. We were not only partners in a relationship, but we were business partners as well. And when that happened, that's a lot of emotional stuff that you have to kind of deal with and face, and those are challenging things. But the one thing that I wanted out of that settlement, I wanted, our business because it's here at this particular property, and I wanted our home and property, which this space was so special to me. This was always going to be my forever home. You know, I walked in, it was kind of like a Miracle on 34th Street situation. I walked in, and this house was exactly everything that as a little girl I would tell my grandmother, this is the house I'm going to have when I grow up. And it literally was everything down to all the quirky little bizarre. This house sat on the market for a while. Nobody wanted this house because it was my house. It was waiting for me. And the property's beautiful. It's not only completely lends itself to what I do, which is teach yoga and have retreats and do Thai massage and meditations. And um, it's like a peaceful refuge there with water and a little bit of woods and just nature surrounding you. And on top of all that, weirdly, it's also zoned to do that, which is pretty hard to find in like a residential neighborhood. So every single little piece was just perfect. I felt kissed by the universe, just like, oh, this is the best thing ever. And so then when I was threatened with that being taken away, I flipped out. I flipped out. And in flipping out, I turned myself into this hot mess of just of discontent and fear and that little thing in me that sometimes just flares up saying, you're not worthy for this. You're not worthy enough for this property. You can't take care of it. You don't know how to maintain. You don't even know what the bills are for this. You know, just kind of all those things started crushing down on me. And as I'm sitting there trying to meditate, and what it actually was at that time was just me spinning the story around and around, trying to figure out how I could fix it. And one of those solutions was to call you and that tribe of people saying, oh, well, I can't figure this out, so I need other people to step in. And interestingly enough, again, I was looking for an answer. I was looking for a definitive answer, like for Stephanie and Tribe to say, oh, this is what you need to do. Here are the steps that you need to take. And this is going to be your end result guaranteed. That's what I wanted. And of course, that's never how it works. So I listened to what everyone on that meeting had to say. And I took it with me and again started spinning all those wheels. And then I stopped and said, wait a second. Are you really listening? Or are you again just trying to implement words into action? Or can you really listen and hear? So I did go into meditation and I did actually listen. And I found the first thing that jumped right out at me is someone there had said, well, it sounds like you're a victim. And at the time I was like, no, been there, done that. I'm not a victim anymore. And I resisted it and dismissed it. Because in my head, how could I be a victim when I'm actually taking steps to keep the property that I want? So I'm not a victim. I don't. And as I listened to that in meditation, I started to realize and feel like, wait a second. It does sound like that. The story, the words that I keep saying to me, if I were listening to that from someone else, that's exactly what it sounded like. And that again made me pause and say, well, what's that about? How come that reaction is coming in? And how come you squelched it immediately upon hearing it? So I did work around that. And I was really trying to sit with myself and try to let go of the panic that I felt and try to let go of that. I need a step-by-step action and I need a guaranteed end result. So that was a process. That was not an overnight revelation. It did not come to me in a blinding beam of light. It was a process of actually initially taking the discipline to really sit and actually meditate on it, to get quiet and listen to what was coming up and not just react. And quite honestly, to listen to my body, too. We forget how wise our actual systems are. And they give you clues and they give you pointers. And when you can slow yourself down and listen to it without your brain stepping in with that constant stream, I found it very, very helpful. It guided me to a lot more, to a deeper space. And then from that deeper space, I was finally able to let go of the need to control the outcome and instead to go back to what I know works, which is taking the one tiny step that's right that is the next step to be on. It's like a little path of stones, and there's lava and there's water and there's earthquakes, but you know which one is the next solid, secure step to take. And that was a process because it wasn't like skipping from stone to stone and here I go and I've arrived. It was putting your toe out and feeling the space and going, is that going to hold me? Is that what's right for me? And sometimes pulling your toe back and regrouping and trying another stone. And sometimes jumping forward and falling right off into the water. And through it all, I was finding more and more that it was okay. And it was okay to get wet and make a splash. And it was okay to feel hurt about it. But I kept picking myself up and I kept starting again. Okay, heart. Okay, mind. Okay, body. What's the next right step? As small as it may have been, like there were times that I moved literally in inches, it felt like. And the more I did that, it's like anything else. The more you actually practice something, you get better at it. You get more trusting in it. And so I stopped falling off and splashing so often. And I kept going for what I wanted to do. And along that path, that was probably like midsummer, it came to me to stop trying to figure out all the ways that I myself could make the money that I needed to buy my property. And what would it be like to just ask, which was flipping me out constantly because it's a lot of money. How can you just go? I couldn't see myself even humbling myself to the point of, hey, I just need this and I have a timeline and can you help me? Simple as that. It seems like a simple little statement and there was so much around it. And I kept approaching that stone and running away from it and approaching it and running away and being like, no, I got to do this myself. I'll find other investors. I'll find this and that, but I have to do it. And again, Stephanie, there it was in my face. I was still wrestling deep control over it all and forgetting, like I do so often, that we just are not separate. We just are not separate. And it feels so separate to be Sherryl in this body. And yet the Sherryl in this body needs not only the whole village, but the whole planet. I need it all as a support system under me. And when I fall into that, it not only feels good, but inevitably it shows me exactly what that stone is. It's like it glows in front of me. Like, here's your next step, silly kid. Here it is right here. You can keep walking to the stars if you want to. So with that in mind, now here's another little backdrop to this story. Although I kept telling myself I was a bigger human than this, I was extremely resentful and angry to this partner. And I kept trying to let it go. And I kept trying to let it go without truly acknowledging the pain. And I kept trying to say, my intellectual mind and my heart, I need to do this. I need to feel this. I don't need to feel that. I can let all that go out the window. But again, what I was truly doing was just shoving it deeper down inside of me and not dealing with it with self-care and love, with self-respect and kindness. I kept going outside myself to show what kind of person I was, which is just weird when I stop to think about it. And through my meditations, little wisps of this kept coming around. And like I said, my body, my joints hurt. Like my weird things that just, I do yoga every day. And in my head, I shouldn't feel like this. Why am I feeling like this? And there's not, there wasn't anything wrong with me. I didn't have a diagnosis. But there were things that were just achy and strange and tight. So as I was exploring that in my practice and in my meditation with all of that other stuff that I was dealing with throughout the summer, every time I came across my partner or had to deal with him on the phone, on texts, email, whatever communication it was, I immediately clenched into my stomach. My throat started gripping. I'd feel that weird hot flush and that like tension around my mouth. My little lines in my face would furrow. And I never explored that. I never took the time to stop in those moments and do my little body check, which I will do in a lot of other situations. When my child starts getting on my nerves, stop, check myself, soften the shoulders, come back into it, and then reapproach the situation from that space. I didn't do that with him. And I didn't even realize. It's like I was so far stuck in it that it never even came up as something like a thought that occurred to me, like, oh, wait a second, maybe you should try this approach to it. So he was still living on the property, not in the home, but on the property. And that was making me very anxious and really paranoid and just, I wasn't sleeping well. It was just a really weird, awkward time. And then towards the end of the summer, and I talked to you early on last year when I came to you guys. So I've done months of work at that time. The end of the summer, and we've been going back and forth in court all throughout the whole year. Nothing has been resolved. He's been fighting and just doing, really mean things that I kept being shocked by. Just like, this is not the human that I thought I was dealing with. And why is this? So again, it was building that resentment within me. And I wasn't acknowledging that at all. So towards the end of the summer, I was walking up my stairs. I was in between jobs and he pulled up behind me and I went stomping up the stairs and opened the door and went in to make myself a cup of coffee. And I'm just pissed that he's here and all that resentment is in my body and everything is tense. And I swear to God, this did happen in a blinding moment. I stopped in my kitchen in front of my coffee maker. I stopped and relaxed my body and said out loud, not today. You are not reacting this way today. You are trying something different and you're stepping out of this because you no longer need it. And I made that cup of coffee and he had come in to use the bathroom and I took the coffee over to him and I was like, hey, would you like a cup of coffee? And, he looked at me like, what's in that coffee? A little bit skeptical. And I'm like, nope, I was making it for me, but you're out on the road. You probably need it more than I do. And that tiny little piece of acknowledgement, not for him, for me, changed everything. On his way out the door, he stopped and turned around and said, hey, can we meet and talk? And I said, absolutely, we can, but we can't do it here because this is too charged with emotion and stuff. I'll meet you someplace public and we'll talk. Absolutely. He took another step out and turned around and said, can I have a hug? And I said, sure. And I bring it in, just brought it there. And it wasn't for him. It was taking care of me. It was acknowledging how I felt, that my body didn't want to sustain that feeling anymore, that it was blocking my mind in so many avenues, and that I didn't need that anymore. I didn't need to carry what was not mine to carry. I literally set it down and served up a cup of coffee and changed the dynamic completely. So when we met that next, in the next few days, he agreed to just give me the property, to sell me the property. And then he's got a bunch of other, sort of lists of things that he wants, but says that that's something he's willing to do. And the funny thing is, like, all along I kept thinking somehow making a deal or somehow coming to this would somehow diminish or lessen. Like, I met him with that without giving in to anything. I didn't stop, I didn't turn into a wet rag or a doormat. I wasn't being walked over. There were things that I said, no, absolutely, I'm not going to do that. Nope, that's not negotiable. Nope. Here's what we can do. And I understand where you're coming from on that. And I'm willing to compromise, but I'm not willing to give up what I'm not willing to give up. And the things that really can be brought to a middle ground will be brought to a middle ground. But there are certain things that are not negotiable. You know, and here is what my plan is. So we went back and forth on that and worked out a nice little compromise there. And then of course, since then, there's been a lot more back and forth. There's just a lot of things that he feels the need to fight on, but it doesn't affect me the way that it did. And I'm just like, you know what? That's not even my problem. That's for the lawyer. I pay her, go get it. It's not me. I don't need to deal with that piece of it. And she was pissed that I made the deal. She was like, what do you mean you're taking our leverage? And I'm like, yep, this is worth my peace of heart and my peace of mind. It's worth every penny that you say that we lost leverage from. Just like, well, we're not going to be able. I'm like, nope, we're going to be able to do exactly what we need to do here. And I have complete trust in that. I have complete trust in you. I will not interfere with what you're doing anymore going forward, but this is where we're going from here on out. And she took that and she's going with it. So the court stuff is still being the court stuff, but it's truly not a sense of anxious, like, tension in me anymore. This is just a legal arrangement that needs to be handled legally through the court system. And I have no more attachment to that stuff at all. So going back now to where I was at that end. So after I did that, I had finally shucked off all of the hesitations that I had. I felt like a superhero. Like, literally, my whole body, I could honestly have flown from here to there. Like, I felt so good in my body. It was in my mind and my heart space. It like grew like the Grinch. I was so it was so good. It was so wonderful to have that experience. And through that experience, I decided, you know what? I can ask, because what is the worst thing that could happen is the other person could say no, you know? And there don't need to be hard feelings there. There doesn't need to be anything like that. So I went to, this kind of money is money I'm not used to playing with. And I do find it a little bit intimidating. But I went to someone who I knew did deal with this type of money all the time and said, hey, I know this isn't a straight out investment, but hear me out. If you can give me this amount of money, I can get it back to you within X amount of years. And you can have this property and house as my guarantee. Like, the money that I'm asking for, what I'm paying for it, what we could sell it for is a big, there's a lot of equity there. I said, so you're not going to lose your money at all. Like, that's just not going to happen. And and that person said, sure, I'd love to help. What can we do to, and I was, again, like, sitting in the chair, like, oh my God, like, and I'm like, okay, that's awesome. That's great. And set up a timeline. And further moving forward, my daughter's fiance, her mother, is going through almost a mirrored situation. She had a heart attack. It left her blind. Her husband at the time decided he no longer wanted to deal with that type of a disability. And he filed for divorce as well. Was trying to take everything. So she has to sell her house. And we've been talking and healing with each other. And, you know, we're very good friends. And and I got a puppy. My little sweet baby who just got free.
Hi, puppy.
Yeah, she's such a good girl. So as I have been talking, you know, with my friend, we realized, oh my gosh, we're not only in the same situation, but you're going to have to sell your house and you don't want to move up to where you have a space 2 hours away from your kids. And I have lots of space here. And she was like, hey, when I sell my house, I'll give you this amount of money. And then we can, you know, be in that property. You can buy that house. So I was like, oh my gosh, there's even more money available there for me that I didn't realize, you know, and didn't even think about. I had never made that connection. Um, and so that is now on the table as well. And then and then my dear, sweet, wonderful brother, who has known all along we're very close, and I share all of this stuff with him. I've never asked him for money. Again, it never occurred to me to ask him. You know, it just wasn't a thing. The blessings, I swear to God, Stephanie, it's like mind blowing here. So in December for my birthday, my car was dying. And I was like, oh man, I've got to buy a new car now on top of all this. And instead of going into that, oh, I was like, okay, well, this will be nice. I'll, you know, figure this out. And when he came back, he lives in California. He came home for the holidays. He's like, hey, happy birthday. I bought you this car. And there's this awesome little car sitting out there. It was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's why, you know, so grateful for him. And then at the beginning of this year, he's like, you know what, Cheryl, you've been going through so much and I've watched you. I've watched your strength. I've been waiting for you to ask me to help. And you never have. And you found these ways to achieve what you want. He said, I see, you know, he saw the release of that anger in me and he saw the difference from before and after. And he said, you know, I'm willing to just give you all the money and you can put my name on the house too. And when you sell it, we'll split it and that'll be that. You don't even have to bother with all these other side hustles. You can just, here it is if you want it. Which of course I'm sobbing and just like, oh my gosh, let's wait. So now the situation I'm in a year later, without doing much of anything except my own work within myself, I have more money sitting on the table waiting to buy this house. I could buy it and renovate it and, you know, just, I could, you know, it's astonishing to me. It is, it's truly, it's astonishing to me. Like I went from having nothing on the table except this fear and grasping to here's the abundance. It's always yours to tap into. But you have to approach it from this sense of trust, this sense of actual support from everything around me. Not, I almost don't know how to phrase what it feels like to actually feel that love and support from everyone around. And it doesn't diminish my skills or who I am or the fact that I didn't hustle a deal that would make me $500,000 in 10 months. You know, it just didn't work out that way. But the way that it worked out was a way I never could have even imagined. I didn't have thoughts or plans about it. And it's more beautiful than anything that I was trying to achieve from just my own little tiny sliver of space here. So once again, it just taught me that lesson of And the other thing is this, though, that I want to be really clear about. I took action along the way. I didn't just sit back and say, okay, universe, I'm reaching into the quantum and now you're going to give me everything that I want in some strange way. I was taking action and doing the work, putting the time in from the get-go. And it took, like I said, it took those splashes. It took that figuring out the Rubik's cube of me to get it to match all those colors into the line. It took action, but it was inspired, supported action. It wasn't that grasping and running and forcing that I had been previously just doing and kept running up into walls doing it that way. So again, it's not what I thought. I thought that I was going to manifest myself some awesome business that I was going to then either sell or make the money on. And I do have a lot of those ideas. But they didn't manifest itself this way for this. And all of those little investment things, when I went out trying to force it through, they didn't materialize that way. And I don't even feel like a lot of those ideas are just dead in the water. I think that they're there to be reapproached from different angles now and brought into that beauty of growth and fruition that way. So it's all been a very weird and wonderful year so far. Just maneuvering and going with the flow and sitting quietly and taking the action that I knew was the right next thing to do and surrendering into that, really turning that around. And really, I teach it in yoga. So to actually walk the walk and not just let the words flow out, it just made all the difference. It made all the inspire, it's like, and just making that one huge change, just that, no, you are not choosing the same thing again that you've been choosing over and over and over in this situation. No, you are not today. You're not doing it today. And that gave me the permission to maybe do it again the next day, but not at that moment. And that moment, turn the key and, opened a treasure trove again in front of me that it just, yeah, I am often just speechless about it because it's such an embodied feeling as well. And it's hard to describe all those little threads that have woven this just beautiful garment that I can just put on. And it's just been a blessing times a million in every direction, not just one. So that was my story. And I'll take it right back to the very, 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 very little seedling that you planted for me years ago, which was that little piece of, it's as simple as getting out of bed. It's as simple as being able to rise up and just step out instead of staying in the bed thinking about all the ways that you're stuck there and all the ways that and everything. It's setting that aside and still taking the little action that's right there in front of you, just right there, and sticking with it, not being thwarted by mistakes or missteps, which again turn out to be little like guideposts, not so much something that's hindering you or stopping you from it. It's really just more like, yeah, I'm going to nudge you back over that way. And here's a little lesson that you can take with you, a little pomegranate seed from your misstep. There's so much in all of it, but being able to really let go into that trust and continuing through it because we're human, and I have not sustained that feeling 24/7 since it's happened, but it's there accessible more and more easily in more and more situations for me. And it's like, I know it's there. Like, you did it once, you know you can do it again, and then you just kind of keep going from that, and it keeps offering itself up in spaces again that I don't quite realize. Sometimes I don't realize that I need it. Sometimes I don't realize I've gone, into that weird headspace of contraction and you can do it. And it's so again, it's not what I thought it was. And I always thought also that, like, quote unquote enlightenment, when it happens, it just keeps you glowing and like this, like, sage on a mountain for the rest of your life. And while you have a piece of that with you the whole time, it's not that sustained high the whole time. And that's, I think, part of the beauty of being human, is being able to do the up and the down and the sideways and the curve around, and not have to hold on to the rigidity that I think a lot of times comes with, I don't know, just the cards that we've been dealt, or the situations we put ourselves in, or the training that we've had. Like, it just, the rigidity in me has softened to the point where I might tense up. I can relax the shoulders and relax the body. And then as soon as that happens, you're right back into that, oh yeah, here I am. And no matter where I am, it truly is all good. Like, it really is all, even the dark spaces that I walked through, there's a balance there. There's a balance between that. And I don't feel like either extreme is sustainable. I feel like you have to constantly be drawing from both of it as you maneuver and go through. And so I went through, and here is where I found myself at the end of it. And I'm still in the process of it, because my divorce is not final, and there's some challenges there as well. But they're being met with love, and I don't mean like I'm being so generous that I'm pouring love in the other direction, but I am pouring love into myself, into that self-care. And from that comes the extra generosity for the general public, and certain people in that general public, and people that completely, may not necessarily in like the textbook of things. Or I have friends, oh, he doesn't deserve that. You need to blah, 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 blah. And it's like, again, what he deserves and does not deserve is not mine to carry. I don't care about that anymore. That's up to him, and that's his situation. It's not mine. And it's not a staying in my lane type of thing. It really is just that sinking into my own self-care. What can I do for me that really offers me that peace within me? And then that peace radiates out from me. And that peace shows me the next direction. And I've learned something tremendous along the way as well. And it's almost like a little mantra in my head, which has become lead with compassion. So in all the situations that I come across, when I start to feel myself getting that blustery, angry, resentful, or scared feeling, I stop and remind myself, lead with compassion. Let that be what leads and goes ahead of you, ahead of your thoughts, ahead of your action. And and that starts with compassion for me, compassion for who I am, not in a selfish, narcissistic way, but just in that soft, gentle, my body is a miracle here. My brain that sends messages to this body and it responds is a miracle. And all of these weird little things around me that I've taken for granted for so long, I'm giving thanks for, like deep gratitude from that leading with compassion, like gratitude for my bed that I get out of, gratitude for the electricity that I have in this house. You know, I flip a switch and it's warm and light. And the fact that I can share that with other people who maybe haven't found that way for themselves yet just fills me with joy, with with deep appreciation for what I have here and how it can also help out into the community. And all of it through is just it's been an astonishing year. And like I said, a year ago I don't know that I could have actually spoken this because I hadn't actually experienced it. Intellectually, I knew a lot of it, but didn't know how to translate it into living it. And that's what this year has brought me, is that living it. And again, one of my friends is like, "Oh my gosh, you cannot go into that space of, oh, he taught me this and this situation taught me that." And it's like, no, the divinity that is within me taught me what is going on. It's nothing that's external that has happened. It's that divine awareness and presence in me that can choose to lead with compassion, that can be brave to explore the different possibilities, and then take those little next steps. It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be this grand scheme. Just the little steps, and every single step is like, I don't know, it's like sustained fresh oxygen at every point along the way. So, yeah. So that's what transpired with everything so far. And we'll see how it continues to go. Like I said, it's still in the court system, so at the moment I do not still have that guarantee, but I have the trust and I have the love and the willingness to, and I have the actual finances. Like, what the heck? That blows my mind too. And I also have, weirdly, I think I'll be okay if it doesn't work out, because as I've seen, every time things that I've tried to go for, when it doesn't work out, there's something that's next that I haven't been able to even fathom. And it's always bigger and better than what I had planned for me. It's like that is something that just keeps being revealed to me over and over. And so I have it in my mind that I'm not going to just try to hold on with that tension and that force and that I want, because that is coming from a place of lack. Even though I thought it was coming from a place of strength, no, I'm going to get what I want. It really was coming from that seed of lack. Like, I don't have enough to just. Now I feel confident that if for some reason it does not go through the way that I have planned it, the way that I'm wanting it to be, that I'll be okay with that. And that there'll be something else that will be there that will help me to still pass on the gifts that I have, to still offer, what's available to share with my fellow humans, with the planet, with my goofy pets. So, yep. So that's what I've been doing all year.
Wow.
And thank you
Cheryl.
for listening. You're such a
Oh,
good listener.
Oh my
It's
God, it's for me, your story is riveting
mm,
and so many gems in what you've seen and
mhm.
such a real journey. You're not sugarcoating it or whitewashing it or making it sound like this was like you were a saint or that you were possessed by something that allowed you to transcend all your resentment and that, like, no, it speaks to me personally. I suspect it will speak to others because regardless of the situation, yeah, I will point to something that I've seen in me and I think it's very common and I heard it in your story.
Mm,
This idea of I can take care of myself. I can make things happen. I can do this and I will. Like, which, man, for me as a little girl, that's what I thought I had to do because it seemed to me that I was on my own.
mm,
And if that were true, it would make sense. But the thing that I didn't know, which I actually kind of knew, even as a little girl, sometimes I had this sense that I really wasn't alone in it,
mm,
even though so many times my mind was telling me that I was, that there was something bigger I was connected to, that
mhm,
there was something looking out for me, that there was something giving me that next step, this one, just this one right here, and
mhm,
that it was always enough. And it wasn't necessarily what I thought I needed, but it was enough. And seeing that more, like I've been seeing it, but I keep seeing it. I saw again how I had this idea of separation, that it was up to me. And then realizing the greater truth that it isn't. I
mhm,
can let that go and let it come through. And there is something for me to do, but it's not from the place of I have to do everything. And the way that I had started seeing this was like, I hear people talk about it like, okay, I have to do it or the universe is going to do it. That's why you see that one too, right? Like either I'm going to do it or the universe is going to do it. I'm just going to sit here and like be like, la, 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 and the universe is going to take care of everything, right? And that would be true if I was separate from the universe,
mhm.
but I'm not. So does it matter if it comes through the vehicle of Stephanie or through the vehicle of miracles and people around? Does it really matter? There's no difference.
Mm. Yeah, it's astonishing, isn't it? Just it really does blow me away. Like just everything that's available right there. Yeah.
So many gems. Well, thank you, Cheryl, for sharing all of this and
Mm,
for being so real and vulnerable about your experience. And also, as I hear it, really fair to the other parties involved, kind and compassionate to
mhm,
yourself and seeing that and sharing that. It's amazing. So
mm,
I will share in the description of this video and below this video how people can connect with you if they're interested to see what's evolving next. Like, I want to know. Tune in for the next installment of Cheryl's adventures. Is
mm.
there anything you'd like to leave people with? Like, is there a message on your heart that you'd like to share?
You know, just what I already touched on is that it's not just that it is an actual journey. It's not just one thing that comes in and changes, and that you do have a responsibility within that. Within all these miraculous gifts, there is still that piece that's yours to move forward through and with and to bring and share, and that you don't have to carry everybody else's stuff with you on that. That's been, I think, those are just two really huge pieces of it, is that it's just that next little step and that you don't have to carry other people's stuff. You don't even need a backpack of your own, let alone somebody else's suitcase. So, yeah, that's about
Yeah,
it.
that's amazing. Thank you, Sherryl, so much.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks so much for joining me for today's Wildspire conversation. If you'd like to receive a weekly Wildspire email from me filled with inspiring stories, unmarketing experiments, tips for playing your way to impact and income without the hustle and hype, insights from my spiritual business journey, and more, go to theawakenedbusiness.com/Wildspire. Until next time, may you know yourself as the gorgeous wild creation you are.